How's it going, everyone? I'm Josh from Elder Drunken Highlander, and this is our deck tech video for Mono Blue Aristocrats, a convoluted color-shifted combo deck that is helmed by the mighty Inga Rune. This deck takes advantage of a strategy that is most commonly found in decks that contain black and white and makes it its own. It is filled with tiny, efficient creatures, recursion, and payoffs for when our creatures get sacrificed. We even emulate common aristocratic win conditions by using artifacts to make up for our lack of Zulaport Cutthroat-style creatures, and can execute multiple finishers using clever combinations of cards that our opponents aren't likely to see coming. Oh yeah, and I should also mention this deck is incredibly satisfying to play. It just feels really good to set up your value engine and then knock it all down for big gains. Trust me, the deck is fun. Before we get too far into it though, I just want to take some time to talk about our Patreon. We offer 3 awesome tiers with perks like getting your name and or alias in our videos. Anyone at any level of our Patreon gets their name thrown in there, and it doesn't have to be your real name. Heck, it doesn't even have to be a name. You could use the space just to passive-aggressively dunk on me if you want. Like that. Anyways, this deck is focused on creating a crazy value engine and then using the momentum we get from assembling that engine to pivot into either an infinite combo or an unbeatable resource advantage. We do this by treating our creatures like dominoes, setting them up and then knocking them down in order to draw through our entire deck and find the pieces we need. Look to keep opening hands with decent mana production, some castable creatures, and a clear way to draw cards. Cards like Palace Familiar, River Kelpie, and Inga herself are great for this. Usually, after only a few turns of us having our deck rolling, we can attempt to assemble a combo. Generally, this is done by finding one part of the combo and then using a tutor such as Fabricate or Word of Invention to find the final piece. We have numerous combos in this deck, and there's no way we can cover them all. Instead, I will just focus on the most common ones, many of which revolve around our free sack outlets, Ashnod's Altar and Phyrexian Altar. Using these loops, we can generate infinite mana and death triggers. From there, we can draw our deck using Inga from the command zone, and win any number of ways. Relic File is our most efficient, but we have numerous other options, including Epitaph Golem to infinite recur and draw our deck, recycling our 1 counterspell and Cyclonic Rift to prevent our opponents from doing anything while we swing in with infinite tokens. We can also just spam Winds of Rebuke to mill everyone out from here, or rely on Selhoff Occultist. We can even win with hasty 3/1s using ultra spicy lightning coils. Now, here are some of the loops for Ashnod's Altar and Phyrexian Altar. The easiest method is just setting up a mana-positive Nim Deathmantle loop. By generating 4 or more mana from Ashnod's or Phyrexian Altar, we can repeatedly return and sack the same creature using Nim Deathmantle's 4 mana ability. Anything that makes 1 or more tokens on ETB or death can accomplish this. My favorite iteration of this loop is alternating between sacrificing Chasm Skulker and Inga. We can also loop anything non-infinitely by paying 2 mana per sack. Even without a token-producing creature, we combine Mana Dorks and Mutavault with Faces of the Past to generate even more mana and value from sacrificing one of our Mirror or Constructs. Hey, speaking of Mirror and Constructs, looping Mirror Retriever with Junk Diver, Scrap Trawler, or Workshop Assistant is another easy loop and allows us to use our constructs to spam through Faces of the Past. Oh yeah, Faces of the Past. A super spicy loop that may not be immediately obvious is 2 Persist creatures and Blade of the Blood Chief. Start with both Persisters on board. Sack 1 to have it return with a negative counter. Then, pay some of the mana you got to equip it with the Blade. Sack the other Persist creature. It comes back with a negative counter. Your first Persister sees the second one die, and the Blade makes it stronger. The counters will cancel each other out. Now, move the Blade and start over. You can also loop easily using Death Render. With Death Render on the field and equipped to a creature, we can sack our stuff to drop our hand and get ourselves crazy mad value. With our artifact retrieving friends, this is an easy infinite. One final super fun loop I want to show doesn't even use our own cards. If our opponent sticks a Dockside Extortionist, we can go infinite using Phyrexian Metamorph and Baron. Have the Metamorph copy the Dockside, then sack one of your treasures to pay for Baron's cost. Return your clone and restart, keeping any extra treasure to yourself. If your Dockside makes at least 7 treasures, you can pay enough life by recasting Phyrexian Metamorph for 3 to get Inga out and spam cast her with Baron enough to draw a bunch of cards. If you can get 8 treasures, you have infinite mana and infinite casts of Inga, which is, you're gonna win at that point. Once you've used one of these combos to get infinite mana and draw as many cards as you want, you can just win however you want. It's great! Isn't that nice? We can also close the game with non-infinite beats from our army of weenie creatures and tokens built up slowly over time, but like, that's boring. I know y'all came here for that weird-ass combo jank! Inclusions. These are the cards that I felt the need to showcase, because I like them. Faces of the Past. Do not underestimate this card. Untapping stuff like Jalira when I sack Inga, or even just netting 1 mana with Mutavault when I'm in the midst of a combo can be very strong. And this spell has defensive capabilities too. I can sack a creature to tap down anything that may attack me that shares a type with the sacked creature. Offense and defense on the same Aristocrats payoff? Sign me the fuck up. Relic Vial. We have a surprising amount of clerics in here. It has especially nice synergies with Vizier of Tumbling Sands. Selhoff Occultist. One of our only true death triggers. This guy fills up our own yard, or can be used to kill opponents during loops. Baron, Master Wizard. He's a sack outlet and removal combined on the same card. Plus, he lets us recur Inga in a pinch, both by sacrificing her for the draw, or returning her for the scry. Homarid Spawning Bed. This has always been one of my favorite cards ever. I am so glad I finally found a home for it in this deck. So cool! Notable exclusions. These are cards that almost made the cut that you can consider for your own build. Sorcerer's Broom. This card seems perfect for the deck, but personally I felt it was a little too slow despite its synergies. Scrapyard Recombiner. This guy has a great sack ability, but I decided to cut him since we don't have any powerful constructs to fetch. Puppet Master, Abduction, and Fool's Demise. These are all just a tad too expensive for my tastes, despite how cool they are. Archaeomender. I feel like the on-death versions of this ability are more on theme for the deck. Krark Clan Ironworks is the same way for me. Personally, I feel like it isn't on theme, since it doesn't technically sacrifice creatures. Oh yeah, and our power level, about that. I've decided I don't want to include that part in our video anymore. This is not really a topic for a deck tech, more something Austin and I would discuss over drinks for a drunk tank episode, but recently we have started to come around to the idea that perhaps it is healthier for games if we don't try to match power levels, but play experiences. As such, this section will henceforth be dedicated to describing the types of pods and players each deck is looking to play against, instead of trying to categorize it on some arbitrary power scale. It seems more realistic since most decks are built with some kind of expectation of what they would be facing anyways. This deck is best for casual pods that reward clever play and politics, but still won't shy away from infinite combos to end the game when the time is right. Since it is a unique strategy, it is sure to stand out and make an impression on the table, and will likely create opportunities for conversations outside the game. As such, it isn't intended for pods with decks that are ruthlessly trying to win, no matter what power level. If you want to make this deck the type of deck that could compete in those types of games, I recommend focusing on speeding up mana production, adding more consistency in tutors, maybe dropping some of the less efficient combo lines, and increasing the amount of stack interaction. This deck only has one counterspell purely because I thought it would be funny to only have one counterspell that I could loop with Epitaph Golem. No matter what type of pod you choose to tune this deck for, I suggest, as always, swapping a few cards and making some of the deck your own. Hey, and if you want to make more decks like this, come brew with our community on Discord. We are constantly on our bullshit, making decks and brews that we would love for you to join us in. As a matter of fact, many awesome members of our Discord helped us make the very deck list that I'm showcasing today. It's super cool, and you gotta be there. You can also support our Patreon for exciting perks and also the warm fuzzy feeling inside that comes from knowing you're supporting someone making something that they enjoy. Mostly the perks though, I'm sure. Anyways, thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.